Hi, Jim.
Why?
This I guess it's the Daniel Webster Monument.
Well, I came from a Daniel Webster monument up there.
Another one. Well, you've been collecting some leaves too. We're going to be talking about leaves, how and why they change color.
It's that time of year to talk about it.
Sure is.
Chamber of Commerce calls it the greatest show on earth. People from all over the world come to Vermont and New England to watch the leaves do their thing this time of year.
They certainly do.
Well,
This rock marks the spot where Daniel Webster spoke to about 15,000 people at the Whig Convention, July 7th and 8th, 1840. Erected by the Stratton Mountain Club, August 10th, 1915. I believe that this plaque disappeared for some period of time, and
maybe that's why there's two. The other one won't disappear.
that might be.
And you'll see why when you see it.
This Whig Convention, did you say you thought that was for bald people?
Yeah, you did. I'm
Oh,
not
I
that
did.
corny.
Oh, okay. I guess it's the political party at that time, and people came from all over New England area.
Well, they had to get 15,000 people up there, and I always wondered how you speak to 15,000 people.
It's been very,
Never let the truth interfere with a good story.
very difficult to be heard or anything. I guess this was pretty much open farmland right in this area at the time. All overgrown today except for a small clearing.
Well, I know he was the celebrities of the day weren't basketball players or football players, but they were people that were in the political arena. So it'd be like Michael Jordan coming here. I guess he could draw 15,000 people pretty easy if he came. They were the superstars of the day.
Well, let me see your other stone here, and we're going to look at some leaves up there.
Yeah.
Commemorating the anniversary of Daniel Webster's speech of July 1840 was a great event. The community went all out for in a corner, watched over the proceedings. The roof was covered with boughs, and 2 raccoons took possession and playfully skipped in and out of holes in the thatching as the band played below. I have a few leaves here showing some color. Got some more soft maple here too. Here's one of the 2 monuments that seem to be here about Daniel Webster. It's kind of etched out, I guess, what he looked like. It says that this marks the spot today.
Big number, yeah.
I guess people came from far away as Albany, Boston. With the populations that day, I guess quite a lot of, probably the majority of New England was here.
Yeah.
Explain to me why these are doing what they're doing?
I'll try to. There's 4 theories on why leaves change color, Claude. I'm going to talk about one of them. Let me give you the other 3, okay? There's the Mother Nature theory, the Jack Frost theory, this little gnome that comes along and paints all the leaves, different colors. There's the Indian legend of the great celestial hunter that killed the giant bear, and the blood from the bear dripped on the leaves, and that gave us the reds, and the yellows came from when they cooked the bear in the great kettle. The fat splattered out and hit the leaves, turned them yellow. And I'm going to talk about the 4th theory, and that's the chemical theory of why leaves change colors. And I guess I'll leave it up to you as which one you pick, or you can take them a little bit of each one, okay? See where the mouse chewed a hole through my pad of paper? Through about 20 pages, and then started making a nest on the back. Claude, this represents our summer leaf, a sugar maple leaf, and it's our nice green color. And the green is due to a pigment, and it's green pigment called chlorophyll. And all during the summer, chlorophyll is the food maker, makes food through grow roots, to grow new leaves, to grow new wood. And that's the main part of the tree that I think everybody learned in high school, the chlorophyll of it. Around this time of year, and this is mid-September, when we start getting temperatures in the evening, in the night, about 45 or below, the chlorophyll starts to die. And as the chlorophyll dies, sugars get trapped in the leaves, and we're blessed in this climate because we have those temperatures that start getting cool while the leaf is still growing. And as the chlorophyll dies, it exposes a layer right underneath the green that was been made in those in that early fall time, and this is called anthocyanins. Maybe I'll give you these as I take them off. Okay. Okay. These the pigment right underneath the green chlorophyll pigment is a red pigment that was formed in these in this time of year, the fall, when we get the warm, sunny days. There's a lot of sugars made, and those sugars turn to red, and instead of going out into the rest of the tree, in the cool nights they get trapped in the leaf. During the night, the chlorophyll starts to die with that temperature, exposing this bright red color underneath. Now the red color is visible for a period of a week or 2 weeks or so, and then that pigment starts to die, and underneath that we find an orange pigment, and this orange pigment has been there all during the year, and this is called carotenoids. Carotenoids reminds you of what?
Carrots?
Carrots, okay. Carotenoids is a pigment that's in pumpkins, it's in carrots. It's the things that give us that orange color. Now this was here all along, but masked by the green pigment of the chlorophyll. This is visible for another week or so. That starts to gradually go by. As the orange pigments start to fade, the same carotenoid pigment changes to a duller color, and that gives us our yellows on the maple leaves. So this one leaf had 4 different colors, and the final color is a tannin color or brown. And the yellow pigment in here is the same pigment that gives corn its yellow color, or bananas. It's the pigment that is visible in a lot of other plants. But again, and it's been there all during the season, but masked by the chlorophyll.
So if we were to go backward in time, right now you're at mid-October in your hand probably, and now we can go back to maybe the first week of October.
Yeah.
And then maybe we're going back into the last week of September. Mm-hmm. And then we're going back to early September, clear back to May when they originally came out.
When it first came out, right. Okay. Now that was my make-believe leaf. And right when you came up, I gathered some leaves. And I'd like to show you, so maybe you'll believe that. And this is the chemical theory of what happens.
How many leaves does the tree have?
Somebody that had a lot of time one time, Claude, wrote it down, and whatever the average tree is, you know, whether the average tree, 100,000 leaves.
100,000?
100,000.
And you verified this?
Yep. No, I said somebody had a lot more time than I did.
Oh.
Okay, now we got to turn this upside down. Okay, now these are all soft maple leaves. And this is our one, and what was the pigment there again, Claude?
That's chlorophyll.
Chlorophyll, okay. This is the color of the leaf all during the summer. Okay, about this time of year, we start to get the cool evenings, the chlorophyll dying, exposing the red anthocyanins, forming, the sugars form and make a red pigment visible. Okay. So
in the vein portion, the chlorophyll is more concentrated and seems to remain longer.
A little bit longer, yeah. Another thing that's happening at the same time too, Claude, besides pigments dying, exposing other ones, is right here where the leaf joins the woody part of the tree. There's a layer of cells that form called an abscission layer, and that's a layer that's going to seals the tree.
Seals the tree.
Yeah,
Next
and-
year's bud.
For next year's growth, and so the tree doesn't have a hole in it too.
And then we're losing moisture, so this has a lower moisture content. It's drier than it was here, and progressively gets drier
Yeah,
also.
and that's why when you point out along the veins it's still green, that's the last place to lose its water. The farther away you get the edge of the leaf, the quicker it's going to turn. Okay, so this is maybe a period of, this could happen anytime, but these leaves are maybe just a few days apart, depending on the weather and everything. So we're going to go the more red and green right here. We're going to lose more of the green and have more of the red till we get a nice red, pinkish red right here, and then the pinkish red's going to fade. Okay, the anthocyanins are here, and these are the orange color, the carrot color, right? The carrot color, the color that's always been there throughout the summer, just masked. We're losing another pigment of cells right there. This color fades to the orange, the carotenoids are orange and yellow. So we go from orange, fades a little bit more till we get yellow, a little bit of everything right there, to the last pigment that's visible before the tannin pigment left would be the brown, and we get a nice yellow. So there's going through in the maple family, and this is a soft maple, and the sugar maple would be the same thing with all those pigments there and showing all those colors. So when somebody says a maple tree turns red, well, it turns all the colors. Finally ends up being the brown leaf you rake off your lawn on
Well, would the Jack Frost theory, though, must contribute somewhat chemically to what happens also at times.
Yeah, the frost.
The frost.
What you don't want is frost is speeds up where you get rid of your colors faster and get rid of your leaves. What you don't want really frost. You don't want really cold temperatures. You want below 45, maybe above freezing in that range.
Is freezing, if it's an actual frost, it will start to tear fibers like
yeah, well, it kills cells faster,
yeah.
So we wouldn't get this color lasting long. So when you see color forming, you're going to find it up high in the mountains like we are now. We're starting this because the color is really late this year because the weather in early September was so warm. We didn't get that overnight low.
Does the length of the day of sunlight enter in
thank
also?
You. Yep, yes it does. Since June the 21st, really right when summer begins, the days start getting shorter. But it really doesn't have any effect until the days are drastically shorter. And that's, well,
we have equal amounts. We reach the fall.
But that day, the next day is shorter.
Yes.
June the 22nd is shorter than June the 21st. And,
well, that's the longer the summer solstice, and we reach the fall equinox.
Yeah.
Incidentally, Bruin does not at all agree with the other theories of the bear blood on things.
Got a bias,
he
huh?
He
doesn't like that
at
celestial hunter and the blood on
No.
the. Yeah. Okay, let me show you some other leaves, and I don't want to forget. I want to talk about why Vermont has this color and other places that have trees don't. And maybe you can guess at it with what we've talked about so far.
Well, I guess some of you've selected a maple to show us, and that's where the most vivid colors seem to be.
Okay, so we got species going for us
species.
that other places, south, north, east, and west might not have as many. Yeah.
And I guess you associate maple syrup production. You can see where that comes from, and that's geographically kind of centered around us.
How do you get maple syrup?
Well, freezing and thawing cycles of of
warm
the
days,
sap.
cool
Warm
nights.
days,
The
cool
same
nights,
thing
the
we get
same
our
thing.
reds from, right? Yeah. Okay. So that's what we have. We have a real spring and a fall. We've got cool nights in the fall. In other places, it's going to stay warm throughout, and the leaf doesn't produce these reds that we produce here in the Northeast.
So if those trees would survive in this location, it's possible to move something from a southern climate and bring it here, and it might be a lot more colorful because of its exposure.
Yeah. Okay, let's. Okay, Claude, this is.
Basswood.
Yep. Okay, the top two here in basswood, and basswood is one of those trees that doesn't have a strong, doesn't make the sugars, doesn't get the red pigment formed underneath the chlorophyll. So we go from green to a yellow. And if we had the kind of trees here in Vermont that were like the basswood, or this is our popple tree or aspen tree, we go from green to yellow and to our tannin color brown.
And this very common Midwest kind of, and they
Yeah.
have the green to yellow to brown. There's
Yeah,
not.
well, there's a whole, out in the Rocky Mountains, they talk about golden Colorado and what great fall colors. They have one color. They have yellow. They have one, you know, they're evergreen trees, and they are gorgeous, but it's really their scenery is a backdrop, not their trees, because, you know, if that's all we had was something that'd be pretty dull around here compared to what it is.
The highways wouldn't be as clogged, but
That's right. But we wouldn't have maybe highways too. There'd still be dirt roads, I guess. Okay, let's take another tree. This is our cherry tree, and it's the same thing. It has all the colors. They're not as vivid, I guess, as bright as something the maples are, but they add to that color. All that mixture in our forest, the ash trees, the oak trees, the two maples, and even our basswood and popple, they add to it with their yellow. So we got our greens, the chlorophyll dyes exposing the red pigments. The red pigments give way to the hornets there. Red pigments give way to the orange and yellow pigments, and we end up with our tannin color leaf again but I think that's what gives us our color. We go through all these colors. All we need is one species of tree to give us a lot of colors to mix up our hillside.
it appears maybe that the health of a particular tree might have some effect.
Yeah, thank you. Because that's all we were talking about is healthy trees. Because we can get trees that'll change colors due to ill health, like they're being flooded or next to a beaver pond or something, or sickly along a highway that start turning in August. And what we were talking about, trees that go through this time are healthy trees that give us our color at the right time in the fall.
I recall a hard maple, sugar maple tree on the Dorset West Road from 20 years ago, and I believe it made the cover of Vermont Life at least once. And I guess it was a roadside cut that had disturbed the roots on one side, and that tree from the side away from the road would be all green, and then it would change in the spectrum of colors, and the roadside being the other. It did that for many years, and it finally died.
Okay, so that's it, Claude. That was a chemical theory, and you can put that with your other, the Jack Frost theory, the Indian lore theory, the Mother Nature theory.
So our spectacular foliage here then is a combination of the species, the temperature, and the topography, the vistas at which we can observe this. And I think a very important thing with color is the sunlight. That in order to really appreciate the full color, you need a bright sun. But on an alternating day with some clouds, you can just see the colors almost roll as it goes across the hill.
Yeah, and we have that long foliage season because of the leaves changing color. Completely flat, the temperature was the same everywhere, and it just all happened at once. And they don't expose yourself, like we can look at a wall of mountain in front of us and see the color there, where in the flatter parts to the northeast, you can see individual trees or a line of trees, but you don't have really a wall of trees like a mountainside.
And certain species, like ash, is about the last leaf to come out in the spring, and it's about the first to disappear in the fall.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes in looking for woodlots, red oak, for instance, or any oak, a good time to tell is like mid-November. It's the only tree with the leaves still left on it.
And they got
really stand out.
That pigment's called, it's that brown pigment, the tannin pigment. Tannin, yeah. Oh, a guy told me he saw a bumper sticker the other day. It says, if it's foliage season, why can't we shoot them? I guess I just told him.
I didn't get it.
Well, or it's leaf peeper season. I don't know. Never mind. I'll tell you, I heard a foliage joke the other day, Claude. It seems this woman went into a tourist shop and she wanted to buy a foliage flag. And the lady working behind the counter said she didn't know what she was talking about. She said, well, you got one out in front there. And the lady said, "We have a foliage flag out front?" And she said, "Yeah." And the lady went out from behind the counter and went out and said, "We'll show it to him." And the tourist said, she pointed at the Canadian flag.
Red maple leaf.
Yeah, and said that was a foliage flag. And I guess she was from the south somewhere where they weren't too familiar with it. So a lot of places in Vermont you see the foliage flag out now.
Especially in northern section.
Yeah.
Jim, we've been talking about our deciduous trees, the ones with the leaves and things. With the coniferous ones, the cone bearers, the ones with needles. What do they do in the fall?
They cause me a lot of phone calls, Claude. Every year a pine needle keeps its newest needles, but it's 2- and 3-year-old needles. It'll drop, it'll turn a yellow color and then turn to a buff color. And then after a few windstorms, they'll fall off. But during that time when there's green on the outside of the tree, outside of the branches, and that yellow tannish color farther in towards the middle, people call. And years ago, John Page dubbed it the Columbus Day Blight, because at Columbus Day, every year the phone will ring and you tell them it happens every year. They don't believe you that it ever happened before, because they never noticed it before, and they had lived here for 30 years and the tree's never done this, and it happens every year. So the people can't find an example of it now, but one of the other colors in the year is the older needles on the pine tree turning yellow, turning buff color, and then falling off.
So that's 2 or 3 week period, like, and it's ended with
probably
on
2
a
weeks.
windy day, about the way the
But
leaves
windy day,
disappeared.
yeah, the things. That's right. The
Rain
same thing.
and wind.
Yeah, knocks them right off, and then all of a sudden their tree is cured and it's just green again. So.
What's that coming? That's no ordinary vehicle.
Stop playing with the window.
Look at the size of that. That's a limo, isn't it?
Yeah. Who's in that?
I don't know. It looked like they're slowing down.
What?
Hi. That's Mother American Bruin, isn't it?
Yeah, she traded in her log truck for a limo.
My goodness. Hi, Mother America.
Looks good on her, doesn't it?
Hi, Claude. Hi, Jim. Fancy meeting you here.
Oh, that Jim. Hi, Jim. Hi, Claude.
Well, I guess, yeah, you are headed east toward Boston. This is kind of the old route.
Boston.
No, I'm not going to Boston. I'm going to New York City to stay at the plaza.
Boston.
I'm going to go on my yearly shopping spree.
Yeah.
Bruin convinced me to take him with me, but I don't know if he's going to behave or not. Bruin?
I always behave. I'll always behave. I'll be good. I want to go to New York City. I want to go to New York City.
Plenty of room in there to bring back the things you go shopping for, I guess.
Come on, Bruin, get out.
Yeah, we're going to go to New York City. We're going to get lots of honey.
When you go to the plaza, is Bruin going to be able to stay? Won't that seem kind of odd?
Why?
No more long-distance phone calls, Bruin. Hang up the phone.
Oh, boy. Yeah,
That's
we're
enough
gonna go.
wine for you.
Never enough wine. Honey wine? Got honey wine? Oh, do we? Oh, boy. I'm going to have fun.
Bruin, sit down. No, not on the driver. Get back here where you belong.
I want to drive. Can I drive? I think I can drive better than him. I know I can. Yep, I can. I can drive. See, I told you I could drive better than him.
No, Bruin, you're not driving.
Where did this bear come from?
That bear, he's impossible. Now this is more like it.
Like it? She's driving. I'm just going to be here like a stretched bear. Get it? Stretched bear.
Where did I ever get this fare from?
Bruin, the seat is not a trampoline. Please stop jumping all over.
Just having fun. Come on, let's go. We're all the way to New York City. Oh, boy. Oh, I think I've had too much honey wine. Oh. Oh, here we go. We're on our way. Hey, we're on our way.
Bruin, you're scratching the upholstery. Please sit down.
Well, bye, Mother Merrick. Bye, Bruin. Have a good trip. Watch out for the people in the village down there.
Bruin, how would you like to visit the Bronx Zoo permanently?
No, just go visit New York, get some more honey, see all those sights. Oh boy, Times
Bruin,
Square.
no, not the honey. Don't open the honey now. Everything will be all sticky.
No, I won't. I won't spill a drop, believe me. I won't.
Bruin, leave the TV alone. We're not channel surfing all the way to New York City.
No, I just want to watch my favorite show. Here it is. This is my favorite show. See? This is all about bears and bees. Oh. Oh, there's my cousin. Oh. Look at these guys. These guys work for us, for us bears. Yeah. They get our honey. Boy. Smell that. Oh, that smells like good honey. They've been working real hard this summer, I could tell. Let's see. How can I get in there? Wonder if there's somebody around here can help me here. Boy, oh, does that look good? I just want to get my paws on that. Can somebody here help me? Is there anybody around here can help me? I see. Gotta get this door open somehow.
Hi, I'm John Carr from the Vermont Wreath Company in the Vermont Marketplace in Danby, Vermont, and we're taking a look at our beehive today. And we put this in the spring. The bees have been hard at work all summer and have probably produced about 10 pounds of honey in the hive that's right here. They've been hard at work producing the honey. It is an active hive. There is a queen, worker bees, and the drone bees. They the hive so that they're able to go and forage where the good flowers are and bring the honey back. When we started this hive in June, the population of bees was probably 10% of what's here now, and they would continue to expand. If it had been a hotter summer, we would have had even more. This whole hive would have been full. The interesting thing now, as fall's approaching, is the bees begin to hibernate, and they'll actually keep themselves warm by moving around slowly throughout the hive. And in the center of the bunch will be the queen. Now, throughout the winter, even if it's 30 below zero, the queen will still be at 92 degrees. The bees will surround it and keep it warm. If it gets hot in the summertime, they'll actually stand around the queen and then fan her and cool her off. Also, if it's hot, they'll bring into the hive water and actually fan that water to cool the hive down and keep it at 92 degrees throughout the year. They've been hard at work putting this stuff together, actually making these combs here, bringing in the wax to form all of that. And it's pretty amazing thing we've got. We've been real fortunate to be able to have this in here, and well worth visiting.
I'll say it is. Well, Now, who made this, and can you open the door, huh?
Hunt, who's out of Benson, Vermont. He made this out of a cherry tree that was cut down about 20 years ago in his front yard, and he put all this together. It's quite a piece of artwork, and it's done very, very well.
I like it. Now, can we get into it? Can you open it up? Can we taste some of the honey, huh? I'd like to have some of that honey. They're busy bees.
And the bees themselves, we're hoping to winter this hive over. When we'll take this hive out of here and actually combine it with another hive to create a larger population of bees that will hopefully be able to winter well and be able to maintain the queen throughout the winter. We have something interesting here. The one bee is dragging, I don't know if we can see that or not, but it's dragging a bee that has died out of the hive. They've been fairly dormant lately, and so right now they're mainly just doing grooming rituals, trying to keep the hive clean and groom it. They're very, very meticulous, and they work constantly at that. Always bringing, if there's an ant that gets in, or if any other insects get in, they're very prompt about taking care of that and getting it right out of the hive. They also work extremely hard right from the time that they're born. Within 60 seconds of coming out of one of the comb holes, they'll be out foliaging and actually bringing honey back to the hive. The average life of a worker bee runs about 3 weeks. The queen could last 3 to 5 years, and depending on winters and other factors. But the drones themselves will only last through the summer months while the queen is active and the worker bees are actually bringing honey in. To conserve on honey, they kill the drones off and remove them from the hive. The queen, she's very busy producing eggs. That's her sole role, and she'll produce about 3,000 eggs a day, and she'll do that day and night constantly, while being serviced by all the drones in the hive.
More honey for me. Yeah.
Queen, if the population of the hive becomes too much, the queen will actually lay eggs, and the worker bees will nourish those cells. She'll lay 10 of them, and the worker bees will nourish those different cells with what's called royal honey, which they remove from the top of their head and then place in each of those cells to help propagate the queens. And then the extra queen will then leave the hive and fly with some of the worker bees and create a new hive on their own. If the queen should die during the winter, the worker bees will take 10 other cells and go and feed those cells royal honey and create a new queen to replace the one that was lost. And it's not uncommon. Occasionally there's some slow queens that are out there, and it's not uncommon for a beekeeper to actually remove the queen that's there and to get the worker bees to create a new queen that would be more active and lay more eggs, which would then produce a more active hive that was more productive as far as honey production.
Yeah, more honey.
Some interesting trivia about bees. They've been around forever. The honeybee is the Vermont state insect. It also happens to be the only insect that actually produces any kind of food or anything that's beneficial really for mankind. A very unusual thing. And the other thing is a pound of honey, which to us doesn't seem like a lot.
No, it isn't. Not a lot.
But for a bee to produce a pound of honey, it has to fly round trip to the moon 13 times to produce that. A lot of frequent flyer miles for those bees on that.
Yeah, that's just a drop for me. Ooh, can we have the honey now? Can we taste some? Can we sample some? I see a bunch of different kinds. Can we
I'm
sample?
holding up two different jars of honey here. You can see that the color difference is slightly different. And that has to do with the time of the year that the bees are out and also what they're foliaging on. Different times of the year, different flowers will be in bloom, and that affects the color. Also, just the difference in the way that they're bringing it in and different things like that can have an effect on the different colors. Now, taste, they'll taste similar, but just like maple syrup, the darker it is, the stronger the taste may be. But that the color difference is not a measure of quality or of any difference in what's happening with them.
Yeah, good. That was an unbearable lecture. All right, thank you very much. Now we can taste some, can't we? Huh? Can we? Please.
Well, here we are at the site of Kelly Stand, and with me today is Edgar Lawrence from Sunderland, who's had a long association with Kelly Stand here. I guess some of your relatives.
That's right. My grandfather and my uncle owned this place for a long time. Finally, it was sold after World War I.
This was the site of the known as the hotel.
That's right. This is the hotel.
And this hotel, it was on this.
The hotel itself was built for travelers who were going on over to as far as Saratoga.
And inside this hotel, if you went in the front in the entry, I guess was there a bar there and a.
Oh yes, there was a bar there, all right, and People came here from New York State as far as way over, and they had to have a drink, of course. That was necessary.
Only one?
Oh, no, 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 no. They had a lot of drinks. The main thing, though, was the dinners that were served here, trout dinners. And they had other things, of course. We used to come up here, and since we owned the place, I don't think we paid. I can't remember about that, but we had some wonderful meals.
How did they get their trout?
Oh, they had a place out in the back. They had a pool out there who did the fishing for them, and he would. Then, when people wanted a quick meal, they could just take them out of the pool and put them together, and that's the way they did it.
And after dining, I guess there were some rooms that people could stay, and were there also other facilities?
Oh yes.
There was dancing here, though, a ballroom like.
On the third floor was a beautiful ballroom. Yes, the dancing was wonderful. They might have as many as 2 dance. It might be a smaller group, but the one thing that was of interest to me was the fact that the ceiling on the dance hall was curved.
A vaulted ceiling?
It had a vaulted ceiling. I couldn't find the word, but it had a vaulted ceiling, and it was fun. Now, the people here, some of them would come, but mostly no. It was mostly people who came from a distance.
And I've heard that there might have been a bowling alley here also.
There was a bowling alley in the cellar. And I think it was very important. Bowling, you see, always was fun, and I think it paid off.
Well, right in this area, I guess known as the Kelly Stand itself, which is a couple hundred acres today, I think, of still privately owned land, completely surrounded by the National Forest. But right in this location, which was cleared, there was quite a large barn across the road.
There was a big barn across the road. It was a nice barn. They had one thing there that was of interest. I thought it was fun. It was always clean. It was a nice, clean barn, and it was a big barn.
And the population up here in, I guess, the late 1800s or early 1900s, about how many residents were there in this area?
There were about 300. Now that is accurate, but there were about 300. They had their own school, they had their own store down the road, and they were very comfortable.
And the lumber mills, and they were located down the road from here.
That's right. They were down at the foot of the hill.
And they were run with water power, I guess?
Not so much.
Steam?
Steam
too?
It was more steam than that. I wondered about that, but they did build one of the highest steam, what do I want to call it? And it was very nice, and it stayed up for a long, long time.
That was built out of brick?
That was built out of brick. And it was, I don't know how they built it so high, but they did.
And then there's still a very small cemetery?
There's a small cemetery, but I think there's only one person buried in it.
And I think earlier you were telling me here that there was a man, or was it Rob Lawler, that stayed here all winter, and some people asked him about how cold it was here.
Oh, yes. It was cold up here. I know because I spent a Christmas vacation up here. And it was great fun. But people used to come along and like to talk to Mr. Lawler. Mr. Lawler and his father was a teacher up there, so the man had to learn to speak pretty well. But anyhow, he loved it here. He liked the idea of it being rural. That was his fort.
The people that came by and asked him how cold it was.
Oh yes, that was funny. When we used to come up here to stay for a few days, we would sleep upstairs over the kitchen, and that was fun. But people would come along and they would see this man who was kind of rough looking and so forth, and they would love to talk to him.
And Mr. Lawler, he had a vocabulary that could include some swear words if he got a little upset.
Yeah, he had a good collection. But anyhow, it was funny. Sometimes he didn't swear at all, and we wondered why. But then again, he'd swear like hell, I guess. And so, anyhow, he used to, when he was living with us, he usually was pretty careful. My mother liked Mr. Lawler. Everybody did who knew him. But she didn't like to hear him swear. So she said something to him about his swearing, and he said, well, I tell you what it is. He says, when I feel like swearing, I usually sing a hymn. And he said, then I don't swear. Well, one day he was out with the oxen. He had a yoke of oxen. And he said, one of them, I don't know whether he stepped on his foot or did what, but anyhow, Mr. Lawler let out some vile swear words, and my mother heard him, and she called to him and she said, Mr. Lawler, I think you better sing a hymn. Well, he said, you know, maybe I should. But she said she never heard him swear after that.
Well, I thank you very much for your information here. And,
well, I'll see you again.
It's a place that not too many people are aware of anymore, and there's very little remains evident. I don't know just what there was for foundations or the manner in which buildings were actually removed by people, or if they just disappeared. But today it takes some imagination to realize what a thriving community that existed here.
That is true. It's very true. And the more we find out about it, the more we enjoy it. And it's great.
Well,
so we'll
I thank you again very much.
We'll see you
Appreciate
again.
it.